to leave the stage.
Are we ready for bat? Yeah. You ready for bats? Okay. All right, so how many people did I tease at the Animals We Love to Hate program? So it worked. Okay, very good. Here you are. All right, so just to reintroduce myself, my name is Mrs. Van. I'm the founder of Ohio Nature Education, which is the charity that you are graciously supporting, and we very much appreciate it. Our development director is here. Jordan is here. Say hi, Jordan.
Hi, Jordan.
All right. Okay. And just because I happened to mention that I wanted one of these name badges, he went out and got me one. Is that nice or what?
Yeah.
I'm going to keep giving him wish lists. What do you think? I don't think it's going to work. I could try. Okay. So you know what we do at Ohio Nature Education is we provide a home for non-releasable wild animals. They're with us for the rest of their lives. Most of them are native to Ohio. Some are exotic. They are either sick, injured. Captive raised animals cannot go back out in the wild. We have some captive raised animals, but they are with us for the remainder of their lives. In exchange for their care, they are an awesome teaching tool, so they travel all over Ohio, and we teach people of all ages to appreciate nature and wildlife. And I am tickled to be talking to adults, okay, this weekend. Yes, I don't care how crazy you get. Nothing against you guys, okay? I love you children, okay? On toast. No, that was from a movie. Okay, but I am so happy because we teach a lot of kids, and that is important though because they're the future generation. But we teach people to impact wildlife in a positive way, okay? But more than anything, we teach about we need nature, yes?
Yes.
And not a lot of people are aware of that, okay? So we are going, that many people like bats, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the, yeah, I guess so. Okay, I may have to borrow that suit. All right, so who is Merlin Tuttle? I wonder if anybody took the time to look up who is Merlin Tuttle. Did you? Do you mind stepping up here? Nothing like putting pressure on, right?
I only read the Wikipedia article.
Okay, who's Merlin Tuttle?
He founded a lot of bat conservancy programs around the world. See, now all the information just left my brain once I came up here.
Welcome to my world.
He's been instrumental in bat conservation around the world.
Okay, are you local?
I am from like northern Kentucky, yeah, a couple hours from here.
Okay, that's good because you're going to get a, you guys can come to the backyard in Licking County sometime. We'll work it out and we'll give you a behind the scenes tour. We'll let you go into the enclosures because you know who Merlin Tuttle is. Okay? All right, so we're going to talk about Merlin Tuttle. Give him a round of applause. Okay. And guys, I even gave you a warning, okay? Absolutely. So the reason I'm bringing up Merlin Tuttle is yes, Merlin has been working with bats for 65 years. Okay? He is the founder of Bat Conservation International. Okay? He is 82 years old. And I'm getting goose flesh because I got to meet him about a month ago. We were at a gathering in southern Ohio. And they contacted me and started talking about meeting our fees. And I said, Merlin Tuttle's going to be there. I will give you a reduced price if A, I can meet Merlin Tuttle, and B, sit in on one of his programs, and C, get my picture taken. So we make buttons. So I made 2 buttons before I went down there that weekend. One was, I am the real Batman, which I made him put on. And the other one was, I met the real Batman, which of course we had our picture taken. So if you go to my Facebook page, that is the picture. But Merlin Tuttle, okay? And he is so sharp, and if we start talking about white nose syndrome again, and the ideas that he has, if I forget and you want to talk about it, remind me. But anyway, when he first started, not only is he an awesome biologist, but all the pictures were of bats looking rather scary and pissed off, right? Because a human is handling them, so what are they going to show you? Their teeth. So not only is he an awesome conservationist, but he is an expert photographer. And many of his photos are in National Geographic. So Merlin retired, and then he didn't. When he saw that our bats were in a lot of trouble and plummeting because of white nose syndrome, he started a second organization a few years back called Merlin Tuttle's Bat Conservation. So check it out, okay? There is a book out there called Batman. Has nothing to do with Robin. It's about Merlin, okay, Merlin Tuttle, which, by the way, he was held back in 5th grade. Yeah. I like to teach people your age to be respectful of adults. Okay? But maybe he had a boring science teacher like I did in 9th grade. And now look what I'm doing for a living, right? All right? So that's why we like to use a lot of humor and visuals in our programs. So I hope you'll take us up on this. Let's coordinate, okay? And have you come on out. We'll let you go into some of the enclosures with the birds and whatnot and take some pictures. Okay? Very good. Give a round of applause. Yes. Okay, all right, so let's start talking bats, shall we? Okay, all right, we have 10 different species in Ohio. The new number is 1,452 species. One of every 4 to 5 mammal species on this earth is a bat. Is that a good thing? Oh, come on now. You like bats? Is that a good thing?
Yeah.
Yes. We're here to talk about bats. What group of animals? How do we classify bats? Mammals. So there are mammal cousins, right? Okay. All right. And they belong to an order called Chiroptera. Say Chiroptera.
Chiroptera.
It means hand wing. Okay? We talked about this earlier, but when you look at a group of animals that has more than 1,000 members, now 1,400 members, you're going to have a very diverse group of looking animals. Some look like chihuahuas, okay? Some look like mice. And once upon a time, that's what we thought they were flying mice, especially the free-tailed bats. So when I mean free-tailed bats, this would be a study skin, okay, of a big brown bat. And I'll pass this around. It's real and real dead, right? Been freeze-dried. Yes. I'm a visual learner, visual teacher. Okay, so imagine this bat but with a long naked tail. Okay, so they had those mouse appearing faces, but then with this long naked tail coming at you. So the French even called them chauve-souris, which means bald mouse. So no wonder that we thought that they were flying mice. They're not, they belong to their own order. And hand wing relates to the thumb and 4 fingers. That is what the wing looks like. So they have a thumb and 4 fingers just like you and I do. And over the skeletal structure are 2 layers of skin that is so thin you can actually see the blood vessels flowing through it. Earlier we were talking about in my past, too busy now, but I have raised orphaned baby bats, okay? They feel like peach fuzz. They have a very unique smell. And you could be playing a band in my living room and I won't wake up. However, when I have orphan bats and I need to take care of, I put them in a little pet taxi in my bedroom on the floor. Half the crate is on heat, the other is not. And all they have to do is make these cute little peeping sounds and I'm awake. Okay? Now they are mammals, so we give them mammal formula. And I was saying that the way that we take care of them is we take eyeshadow applicators, pull the sponges off, dip in milk, right? And they're mammals, so they're going to want to suck. So they sit there, and all we have to do is once they get that little sponge in their mouth, we just add a drop of milk at a time, and that's how we feed them. We know they're full because, again, that skin is so thin, when you turn them over, you can see the milk in their bellies. Is that pretty cool? Some of you are looking at me like, wow. Okay, she's really going in depth, absolutely. Okay, why do we need the bats in Ohio? Bugs. Okay, yes. So our bats in Ohio are insect eaters. Okay, so we know that they eat mosquitoes, which not only make our lives uncomfortable, but they could spread diseases. like the West Nile virus, right? Absolutely. But they are the top nighttime predator of crop pests. So and how many of you have gardens or you're growing cucumbers or tomatoes? Yeah, we want bats in our backyard because they keep those beetle populations down. But guys, it goes beyond that. Okay? Biologists say that just in Ohio alone, bats eating crop pests is worth $1.5 billion service. How many people know that? How many people do we need to share that with? Okay? Guys, I don't know about you, but I was brought up in a generation that they believed that bats swoop down, got stuck in your hair, bit your neck, suck your blood, turned you into a vampire. You're all as blind as bats, and you all have rabies. Yes? Have you heard any of that? Okay, and the kids usually laugh. Okay, somebody said something about a vampire over here.
But yeah, I'm used to the vampire part a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love a good vampire movie, don't you?
Yeah.
Hey, Twilight maybe too?
Yes, Twilight.
Well, you know, my evening bat, the nickname is Twilight Bat, and his name is Edward.
Oh, that's nice.
Come on now. We're Harry Potter fans too. So we do have a Luna. We do have a Bellatrix. We do have a Mad-Eye Moody. That his eyes screwed up shows you my sense of humor, but whatever. Okay, I digress. So absolutely. All right, so they are so beneficial to us because if we did not have them out there, then we're putting more chemicals out there. Do we need to put any more chemicals out there? No. Do we need to pay more for our food, our produce? All right, so that's how bats help us. But what do the other bats around the world eat? Okay, because our bats in Ohio, yes, hold that thought. That's why I asked you about that. All right, so we have microbats in Ohio. Around the world, okay, there are megabats. If you have read the book, In Ohio's Backyard Bats, I recommend any book that starts with In Ohio's Backyard. The author of it, Dr. Jackie Bellwood, actually gave me this carving. They're not going to be this wide, but they could be this long and weigh 2 pounds, okay? But when you open their wings, they could have a wingspan 3 to 6 feet.
Wow.
And that's when I sheepishly get adults looking at me and going, are these here in Ohio? And I could mess with them and tell them yes, but no, they're not here in Ohio. Our bats, the biggest bat we have in Ohio is the hoary bat, because of the frosted fur, H-O-A-R-Y. From the nose to the tail, it's 5 inches. Wingspan, 15 inches. Yet, how many of you have had a bat get loose in the house and is flying around? And that's when I get stories of, Mrs. Van, I swear to you it was this big. And I say, okay, that's all right. You're the same people that tell me the great horned owl in your driveway was that tall. It's all good, okay? It's your perception. I'm not going to argue with you. I've been at it too long. I have to save my energy. Okay, so what do the bats around the world eat? What do they eat? Okay, so we know ours eat bugs. I'm going to sit down and look at my bat lunchbox. Inside my bat lunchbox are all the diets of the bats around the world. By the way, I was at Columbus Metropolitan Library one summer doing a bat program, and there was a gentleman, he just kept hanging around and hanging around and hanging around while I'm closing down, and I knew he wanted to talk to me. And he was from Africa. And he said, Mrs. Van, have you ever eaten a bat? And I like to be open-minded. He didn't have a bat with him for me to taste. But I said, no. And he said, I have. He said, you know those flying foxes that you were talking about? I said, yeah. He said, they are so greasy. He said, we don't even have to put oil in the wok. We just squeeze that bat right over the wok. I said, thank you for sharing that with me. It's good stuff to know. You never know, right? Absolutely. And when I teach children, it is not up to us to judge other cultures and what they eat. So we have to look at our own cultures, don't we? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, very good. So, what is in my bat lunchbox? Other than insects?
Fruit.
Okay. Hold on, I've got all sorts of stuff in here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to pull out the moths and I'm going to pull out the mayflies. Okay. Yeah. Okay, some bats eat bats.
Oh.
Owls eat owls. Snakes eat snakes. Spiders eat spiders. And I'm a mammal that eats other mammals. Do we think about that sometimes? Okay. Oh, you don't? Okay. All right. Either that you don't eat them or you're in denial. It's all good. It's all cool. All right. It's all good. All right. Some bats eat fish. And you know how our national symbol, the bald eagle, swoops down and catches the fish? By the way, bald eagles eat roadkill too. Wild animals, okay, wild animals are opportunistic. They're not going to sit there and say, I'm the national symbol of the U.S. I'm not eating that roadkill. It'll ruin my reputation. It's, oh my God, that thing's already dead. It'll feed me and my young, right? All right, so, but they majestically fly down with those big, long talons. There is a fishing bat that does the same thing. You know what? Nature is so cool. Do you think there's ever a fish that knows about the fishing bat? That waits down there and eats the bat? What is that called? It's called food chain. Yes, absolutely. Okay, there are some bats that eat mice. There are bats that eat frogs. They can tell by listening to the frogs calling and know to identify whether that is a poisonous snake or not. Pretty cool, huh? Some bats eat birds. All right? Some bats drink blood. Are there really vampire bats? Yes, there are 3 different species of vampire bats. Now, I will be 65 and proudly, I'll never say I'm old, okay? I may feel old, but I will not admit to being old. And as long as I've been alive, there have been Dracula movies, because Dracula started way before me. Okay? Absolutely. But you know what cracks me up about the whole Dracula thing? All 3 species of vampire bats are 3 inches or smaller. So it's these little bats that have helped perpetuate these myths and stories and movies for all these years. Vampire bats are sometimes found in Mexico, Central and South America. Whose blood do they typically like to drink? Cows, chickens, livestock. But you know, there's something pretty cool about them, and I know that scientists are studying them for human medicine. Fortunately for us, if we cut ourselves, our blood clots. That gets in the way of the vampire bat. Okay? So they have an anticoagulant in their saliva, spit. Okay? That when they are sitting there and licking, let's say the goat's blood, it'll keep the blood flowing. Are they taking a 5-gallon bucket? About a tablespoon. Okay? All right, so that's pretty cool. We are studying that to help human heart and stroke patients. Okay? All right, very good. All right, so what else do we have in here? Let's see, and I know somebody said it. We have the fruit-eating bats, seed dispersers. We have the nectar-eating bats, pollinators. And they help us to get the following products. Say yes if you use these products. Bananas, peaches, cashews, dates, mangoes, carob. Somebody told me one time that carob is the healthy substitute for chocolate. As if. Okay, right. There is no substitute for chocolate. Okay, plantain, avocados, figs, cloves, tequila. Woo! Yes, and the list goes on. So do we need bats?
Yes.
Do we need nature?
Yes.
Seriously. And here's the cool thing about Merlin Tuttle. I forget how many countries he said he's traveled to. But a lot of it has to do with education, obviously. So he was going to other countries, and they were killing bats. They thought the bats were eating their fruit before they could export it. And he educated them that without the bats, they would not have all that produce to export, because they were the pollinators and the seed dispersers. So, I mean, he has gone beyond Texas. Which, by the way, how many of you have been to Austin, Texas? Have you been to the Congress Avenue Bridge? to watch, you have, very good, yeah, to watch the bats emerge. My youngest daughter, Fallon, and her husband lived in Texas for a while, in Dallas, and when I visited them last May, they took me down to Austin so that we could sit there and watch the bats emerge from that Congress Avenue bridge. Guys, I don't know how many people visit that bridge, but once upon a time, Austin thought, oh no, we got to get rid of these bats, because they believed all the myths. And Merlin taught them, whoa, wait a minute. This is a tourist attraction, and by golly, it is, and it brings in a lot of money. See what we can do with a little bit of education? One thing that Merlin says, how did he put it? And I'm trying to think, because I want to say it the right way, and maybe I won't, but basically, to paraphrase it, is he wins over people along with the battles. And I had to write him an email and say, that's going to be the rough part for me. I mean, honestly, I'm being honest with you, because I've been at this for over 30 years, and I don't understand why people would want to come up when we're at a display, not your group, obviously, but come and share some of the terrible stories of things they do with animals. So that's something I told Merlin I would strive to do, but, you know, he has worked with, he's about the people and the animals, which I commend him for, and that's something I'm going to need to. I'm obviously an animal person, yes,
Yeah.
but I need to be more of a people person too. So, you're saying no? Join my group. Yeah. Well, you know what? I've had people come up to me over the years and they whisper, I like animals more than people. I'll say, you think? Okay, I mean, we could start a big group, guys. We really could. Oh, thank you very much. All right, very good. So it's a lot of what he's done. All right, so let's talk about bats being blind. Are they? No. They are not blind. The 10 species we have in Ohio are all nocturnal, so they're active at night. And obviously they could see, but... Woo! They're having fun over there. Okay. Okay. But much better is their ability to hear, and they use echolocation. And guys, it's something, they can detect something as fine as the human hair. Okay, so are they going to know we're there? Yes. Absolutely. Okay, I think we started with these myths about bats swoop down because we're under city lights, we're under mercury lights out in the country. Their food is above our heads. It has nothing to do with coming near us. They know we're there. They want nothing to do with us. And guys, even the biggest bat in the world, you know, look how much bigger we are than they are, okay? And a child, and I love the questions that I get from children, asked me recently, what's the most dangerous animal that I've worked with? And I said, people. And it's the truth, right? Absolutely. So I guess I'm not doing real well on what I just told you I was going to work on, right? Absolutely, but I'll keep working towards it. Let's talk a little bit about reproduction, shall we? Shall we talk about bat reproduction? Yeah, okay. All right, you're really shaking your head enthusiastically over there, okay. Woo. All right. Okay, most bats around the world only have one young a year. So when you have a disease like white nose syndrome, that, by the way, it's not as much of an issue in the summer. White nose syndrome is a fungus that likes damp, cold places, which is where bats go to hibernate, right? In abandoned caves and mines, okay? And they spread that amongst themselves. I always compare it to when our kids first go into preschool and things like that, and then we have ear infections and the whole bit, and everybody's got a pink bottle of amoxicillin going. So they're in there in tight quarters. So if you have someone that goes in there maliciously, and it happens, takes out a whole group of bats in a hiberniculum, and most bats only have one baby a year, how long is it going to take to thank you very much, for those populations to rebound? Because we're talking about millions of bats have died as white nose syndrome has moved across the U.S. And Canada and whatnot. But regardless, so they give birth to live young, okay? And here's what happens. Late in summer, early fall is when they start mating. They mate in the air. That's all I know about it, okay? No more details. They probably mate with more than one male, okay? Here's what's really cool. All right, of the 10 bats in Ohio, we used to say 11, and we used to say 3 of them migrated south to overwinter, the other 8 hibernated here. And then all of a sudden, that's what I love about science and wildlife. We thought the evening bat migrated south, found them here in the winter, not in big numbers. Red bat, found under leaf litter in the winter. We used to think that was one that migrated south. So there's still a lot. We don't have positives. Answers on some of these and whatnot. But so let's say they're the ones that stay here in Ohio. Let's say the little brown bat or the big brown bat. So they mate late in summer, early fall. They will all go into hibernation, okay? Now, they gain all this weight, and even my captive bats, that's what's so cool about instinct. My captive bats, okay, will put on all this weight as though they need to get through hibernation. That's how strong instinct is. So the bats in the cave. Caves are damp, moist places, right? Water droplets form on their fur. That comes into play. Because they are not processing food anymore, but they've gained all this weight, so they still have to go to the bathroom, right? All right, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Don't let me forget, okay? They're going to go to the bathroom, okay? And it's like when you get up to go to the bathroom at night, since I'm up, I might as well get a drink of water. They're able to sip water droplets off their fur. Is that a pretty cool adaptation? Because if they go out in the winter, are they going to find open water? Do they need to be spending energy and burning off that fat reserve? Now tell me that's not a cool adaptation. Tell me how cool it is. I need more enthusiasm than that. Come on now. All right. So let's talk about when they go to the bathroom. We'll go back to reproduction in a minute. Okay. So you know that bats hang upside down. Why do they hang upside down? Why do bats hang upside down? All right, if you're a flighted animal, that's your mode of transportation. You're going to need big flight muscles, yes? The upper part of your skeletal structure needs to support that. But if you're a flighted animal, you want to be light. So the bottom part of your skeletal structure needs to make up by being light. So they're not going to be able to stand up like we do. What's really cool is when bats are sitting there, or hanging there on the wall. Okay, by the way, they're big show-offs. They can hang by 1 foot. They have locking tendons. They can do this for 6 months, because some of our bats hibernate for 6 months. All right? So all they have to do is just open their wings, let go with their feet, and whoosh, there they go. So if you find a bat, though, it's not like a duck. You can't put it down on the ground and think most bats are going to fly up. So if we find a bat and it's not injured and it's not winter, if it is injured or winter, you need to contact me and we'll get you some help. What you're going to do is put it at the base of a tree that it can climb up, or the base of a brick building, something like that, so they can climb up, because most of them need to be high in order to gain flight. Okay? Here's another thing. If I told you to go stand in a corner on your head for an hour, what would happen? You would pass out. Bats are able to hang upside down because they have special discs or valves in their veins that prevents that. Okay? All right, so let's go back to the reproduction, right? So they are going to wake up, okay, and go to the bathroom, sip water droplets from their fur. They delay ovulation and fertilization. They may wake up 3 or 4 times during winter, but they are going to delay ovulation and fertilization. Come on, guys. Isn't that cool? Absolutely, it's cool. Jordan, are you getting worried over there? I'm doing sex ed on bats back over here. Okay, we're good. All right, very good. I never get to do this because I can't, not too much with children in schools. They may ride me out on a rail and tell me don't come back. Okay, very good. All right, and then when they come out of hibernation, and somebody signals spring is hit, the insects are out, Out they go. So they can sleep up to 6 months. All right? Many of our bats. Out they go. Females form maternity colonies. Wherever a female was born is where she will go back to year after year and year after year to have her young. And those are called maternity colonies. And that's when you end up with very, very big groups. Males can form small groups. And yes, we do have bats that love our chimneys, our attics, our barns, our garages and whatnot. But we do have woodland species that will go under bark and whatnot. Okay? All right. Are bats blind? We talked about that. Do they all carry rabies?
No.
Rabies is serious. It's a deadly disease that all mammals can contract. That's why we vaccinate our cats and our dogs. At Ohio Nature Education, we either get pre-exposure rabies shots or we do not handle the mammals, okay? Now, we talked about the possums are the least likely mammal species to get rabies, but we keep it very safe at Ohio Nature Education. Not only for our volunteers, but what's the only way to test for bat rabies? You euthanize them. You have to euthanize them and test brain tissue. Okay, so, oops, I got bit, Mrs. Van. Can't bring that animal back, right? So we want to keep our volunteers safe. So we have very strict rules at Ohio Nature Education about keeping our animals safe. So they say that the occurrence of rabies in bats in the wild is 0.5% to 3%. But as I like to teach children and adults too, is most animals are going to go away from us, right? They view us as their predators, so normal behavior is to go away from us. But every once in a while, something will end up down on the ground. The important thing to do, adults, please, is to use a dustpan, a shovel to pick that animal up, or very thick gloves. I teach children that, Mrs. Van, I didn't know what it was. I was out on the playground. What's the most important thing to do? And that is to share that with an adult. Okay? Because we can treat rabies. It's when you keep it quiet. Because once the symptoms show up, it's not a good thing. Okay? But the occurrence of rabies in bats is actually very low. Okay? All right. I've talked your ears off. Now ask me some questions or tell me some bat things. Yes?
If you have a bat box on the outside of your house, does it attract more bats to that area? For example, if you have bats in your house, would it be like a good idea to put a bat box in your backyard?
I'm always going to advocate for bat boxes. Please contact me because Merlin, or you can go to Merlin Tuttle's Bat Conservation, because he has a new book out, okay, just about the bat boxes, and he actually certifies different builders, okay? You don't want to just go to a big box store and get a bat box, because they don't really care how much science is in it. It's the same thing with bluebird boxes. I've gone into stores, called the manager over, said, that bluebird box is a death trap. And of course, they can't wait to get me out of the store. Okay, obviously. But so buy from a reputable source. 12 to 15 up on the eaves of a house or a post. I know we think, oh, we should put them, on a tree. Most of the bats that are going to use a bat house want hot temperatures. It helps the young develop in vitro, okay? Because by the time they're a month old, those little babies are starting to learn how to fly, okay? So if you want more information about bat boxes, contact me. Here's the thing. I had a situation with a woman that called me and said, Mrs. Van, I have a bat, and every year it gets into my outside thermometer. I've put up a bat box. What can I do to coax it? My smarty pants answer is I could come out and talk to him, but I doubt he'll listen to me. But it's that thermometer has filled a niche that the box has not. So get in touch with me. I can give you some more advice, but check out Merlin's new book or Bat Conservation International for some tips on that. But it can only help. Yes?
Can you talk about Tuttle's ideas on white nose syndrome that you mentioned earlier?
See? That's why I had you here. All right. Earlier we were talking, and years ago we were saying 6 million bats have been lost. It's more than that. We were talking about, and guys, if I could recommend a book, and there's a lot of good bat books out there, but Shadows of Night, The Hidden World of the Little Brown Bat and it kind of looks like a kid's book. I guarantee you the information in here is unbelievable. But on one of the first pages it says, this is the story of the little brown bat, one of North America's most, one that we have the most of, okay? We've lost 98% of our little brown bats. Now that's some scary stuff, right? Absolutely. So we were talking earlier that, and this is what Merlin said to me, is he said that somebody just got an $8 million grant to come up with vaccines for bats against white nose syndrome. Could anybody tell me, and I'm not a scientist, so I would have to sit down with a scientist and have him sell me on this, but does anybody see anything wrong with the problem of vaccinating bats? Yes. Yes. Yeah, how are you going to catch the bats? And here's the thing, aren't we kind of doing a wink-wink test? What if those vaccines do more harm than good? Here's what was scary about what Merlin said. He said, number one, now guys, remember, this hit in New York first, so it affected our East Coast bats first. He said, we're starting to see a rise again in some of our bat populations in the East. That's a good story. But he said, oh, vaccinating bats. Come on, now how are we going to do that? He said, all we need to do is lower bat cave temperatures 2 degrees. And I thought, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be the dumbass that asked Merlin Tuttle that question. So I snuck over to one of his staff and I said, how do you lower the temperature of a bat cave? And he mentioned it, so I felt like, okay, I can go up and ask Merlin. And basically he said, you know, there are caves that you could stand at the mouth of, and it's like being in a walk-in freezer. You could feel that air pouring over. So he said they build dams, like they would a water dam. And they change the flow of the air. And he said, he just wrote a paper on that, so Lord knows when that'll be coming out. I hope that nobody is sitting there saying, oh, that Merlin, he's 82, he doesn't know anything, because that would make me insane, because this is the bat expert of the world. But he's basically saying that's all we need to do is lower the temperature of the bat caves, and they are seeing some positives in how, for some reason, the fungus that creates that causes white nose syndrome is very specific to certain temperatures. But wouldn't that be better than vaccinating our bats?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Thank you for bringing that up. But isn't that kind of scary and cool? I mean, that he comes up with this stuff? Whew. We need another Merlin Tuttle born in soon, right? Absolutely. We really do. Can you tell I'm a Merlin Tuttle groupie? Yeah. I can't believe I met him. This was just, when I came home from the program, my husband comes out, helps me unload the car. He goes, you don't have an 82-year-old man in the back of that car, do you? You didn't kidnap him, did you? No, I don't have any empty enclosures, though. But anyway, all right, what else about bats, guys? Yes?
What would happen to a maternity group of bats if their home cave or location where they go got destroyed, like by people?
Yeah, well, that would be a sad day, because I bet there'd be a whole bunch of migrating bats that are pregnant, and where are they going to go? It's not like there's a whole bunch of places that they can go to, so.
They wouldn't know to try to find another?
I'm sure they would try to find another, and keep this in mind, too. Bats in Ohio can get through a hole the size of a dime. How many of us can say our homes don't have any holes that size? So there are humane exclusions, okay? I'm not telling you have to live with bats in your attic, but please contact us to give you the names of company that for any animal, if you need it excluded, will do the right thing, and they're called humane exclusions, where the animal is not live trapped and euthanized. Okay? So there are ways. They're one-way doors that can be created. But obviously, you're going to do a bat exclusion at certain times of the year. And hopefully, you'll put up bat boxes, too, at the same time. So, yeah. Hopefully, they find another place. Okay? What else? Yes?
How many of the species of bats in Ohio are threatened or endangered?
Ooh, I think we've got maybe 3. And remember, there's a difference between being state endangered and federally endangered. I think we've got at least one that is federally and state endangered. Okay, so we have to really, really watch it, guys. You know, what we're doing out there, because we want to make sure that we're protecting our bats, because I just don't think people realize how beneficial they are to us. And just think about that service they provide with just protecting our crops. So yeah. Yes?
How long do bats live?
Oh, I love that you asked me that. Big brown bats live 18 to 20 years. Little brown bats, 33 to 34. I'm going to tell you something too, okay? Merlin, now the only thing he gets is pre-exposure rabies shot. How many of you heard that there was a link between COVID and bats? Don't get Merlin going on that one too. And I'll be happy to share any links to his articles and whatnot, because he's had to address that too. Merlin will tell you he's been working with bats for 65 years. The only thing that he ever does to protect himself are the pre-exposure rabies shots. He's never contracted anything else. Earlier we were talking though, who was it that was here that talked about that they had bats in the attic and they were concerned, rightfully so, yes, about the bat guano and breathing problems. Yes, and I said, be careful. I'm an asthmatic. I'd love to go on one of these field trips that they have at Bracken Cave, where there's 25 million Mexican free-tail bats and whatnot, but I wouldn't dare. And I told you that Merlin went into a bat cave one time with those serious masks. What are those called anyway? I'm sorry? Respirators, okay? And the filter was defective and he ended up with ammonia poisoning. But think about some of the bat colonies that he would go in. So I had asthma as a child, not diagnosed. Now I know I had it. And when I started working with wildlife, I had blown out asthma. So I asked my doctor about it because I'd read, we have to learn about zoonotic diseases and whatnot when you work with wildlife. And I said, I've read about histoplasmosis and bats. And he says, Mano, anybody that lives in the Ohio River Valley most likely has had histoplasmosis at one point or the other, because we are in a valley. He said, we just thought it was a cold or a touch of the flu. But if you have breathing problems, I would be careful. I'd wear a mask when I was up there. I would wear gloves, but by all means, save that guano if you can and put it in your garden, because it's a very good fertilizer. So yeah, absolutely. Anything else? Yes! My bat friend. Someone interpret for me.
I went in recent years, how is light pollution affected bat migrants?
Oh, I love that. How is light pollution? I don't know specifically about bats, but by golly, we talked earlier, okay? And we have lost 1/3 of our bird population since 1970. And I keep repeating this, but biologists say there are 3 reasons. One is loss of habitat, bats too. Okay, number 2 is outdoor cats. I'm not a cat hater, I'm a cat lover, but my cats are indoors. And then it's hitting buildings and windows. Okay, our private windows at home act like mirrors. They see habitat behind them. But this light pollution, all right, and keeping our buildings all lit up all night long when there's nobody in there is a waste of energy, and it's causing a lot of building strikes. Light pollution is not good for nesting turtles, sea turtles. So we are finding more and more we need to just cut out our lights. Now try to tell that to most people. You and I can put a small light bulb out there. They're even saying yellow light bulbs will help. I can't answer your question specifically, but it's causing a lot of harm to a lot of other animals. So we just need to turn the lights down or turn them off, right? Yes?
Are bats social creatures? Do they like each other?
Well, my 2 were arguing earlier. Okay, but I don't know if it's, move over. I want the window seat. I don't know. Okay, Yeah, because they can be colony nesters, okay? When it's interestingly enough, in some of the hiberniculum, all the big brown bats will be here, and all the little brown bats will be there. But that might have something to do with, I like it deeper in the cave. I like it quieter. I like it where the humidity is different. And that's one thing about bat boxes. You want a nice tall one because it's hot up here and I need to go down there. Merlin even recommends 2 different bat boxes, one that's going to be hotter than the other or cooler than the other. Oh, you rock. Thank you. Thank you. You didn't give me tequila in there, did you?
I mean, I could.
No.
There's always time. It's after beer 30 somewhere.
This is my last program of the conference, so I suppose I could, but no.
I was like, you've been talking a lot. You need that water.
Oh, you noticed I talked a lot, huh? Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I needed to share this with you. I know we're almost out of time. Okay. In a 1 square foot area, you could find between 300 and 500 baby bats called pups. So now let's say this is a bat cave. 1 square foot has 300 to 500. Mom goes out at night to feed. How is she finding that baby amongst all those? Smell and its own unique call. It calls and she knows it among hundreds of thousands or millions of bats, goes and smells it, licks it, and then she takes care of it. Is that pretty cool? And they are called pups. Absolutely. So much to talk about bats. Right? I just think they're awesome, awesome animals. They really are.
I know you're called.
All right, any other questions or comments? Yes?
How do they fuck in midair?
Never have I heard that, okay? At one of my programs. Thank you very much. If somebody ever gives me shit about being inappropriate at a program, I will bring this up. Okay, how do they procreate in midair? I don't know, but I'll find out for you. How's that? Because now I'm really interested. Must be kind of fun in the air. I know they can flip around at the end of their flight. Okay, so wow, yeah, I'll check into it. I'll ask Merlin. How's that? Dear Merlin, could you please? All right, very good. By the way, he shared video with me of, because we talk about what do bats eat, who eats bats. Some cultures eat bats. Hey, some cultures eat tarantulas, whatever. Okay, not much meat on those. Okay, but anyway, this is how smart nature is. And I watched this one time on a special, but then Merlin shared footage too. Okay, so most bats are nocturnal, but those darn red-tailed hawks, cats, snakes, know just about duskish, there's going to be hundreds of thousands to millions of bats exiting that bat cave. Snakes will sit there and reach out like this. You know that game? What's the game that you're grabbing, there's a chance? Yeah, absolutely. So snakes are doing this. I saw a red-tailed hawk on video one time doing this. There's so many bats, there was a chance that they caught them. But there were raccoons at the video that he shared with me, so that was really pretty cool. Did you have a question?
Oh, yes. So you plants for 6 months out in the year, like during the time that they're not hibernating, how much do they sleep in a usual day?
In a usual day? Well, that has to do with light, right? And sunset. So they're not coming out. Now, it's not that we've never seen bats during the day, but they're going to be more active at night because that's when their food is out. So they're sleeping and whatnot. Yeah. Yeah. So they're going to come out. Now, here's when we get into trouble. We already have populations that have dropped. When we had these wet, cold, rainy springs or summer, and they've had their babies. And I know rehab centers have said, oh my gosh, we have so many. 5 minutes, very good. Okay, that's a good thing to tell me. Or I'll be here and you'll be dragging me out. Okay, so when we have, these cold, rainy springs and the moms have had their babies, a lot of rehab centers will end up with a lot of orphan babies or moms that come in with babies on them and they're all thin. So, that's just another thing that gets thrown at them. We got to take care of our bats, right? All right, did you learn anything from this bat talk?
Yeah.
All right, very good. Now go out and spread the word that we love bats, yes? Yes. More enthusiasm, please. Yes. All right, my job here is done. Now, I have bats here. I have 2 big brown bats. If you'd like to come up and look at them, feel free, okay? Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And for those that are wondering what's on the schedule next in this room, you got Charity Who's Line.
Silver Gato Man, he bought me a coffee. Silver Gato Man, here is the song for thee. He likes to video all the panels at the cons. You should go and watch them whether they are short or long. Silver Gato Man, you video that's not a jibe. All of you go to his YouTube channel and like and subscribe.